Hi, and welcome to Dewey's Build Your Own Rink, Season 1, Episode 1. Today we're going to be building a rink, and the first thing you do is you cut 4 of the 2x4s at 39 inches. You need 4 of those for each panel, and then you have 2 8-foot 2x4s for each panel. So, through the miracle of television, I've already cut these and you haven't seen it. Then you just line them up. So you're first going to set these out, 1 down at the bottom, and then 1 at the top. It's best to put the top and the bottom plate together. Flush them up on the end, because we're going to mark where our screws go, so that we have everything equally spaced like those. The spacing is at 32 inches. So at 32 inches, make a mark on each board. Doesn't need to be perfect. We're not building a church. And then get your screws started. I always start the screws because it's so much easier to start them when the boards are flat on the ground. The next step, I usually just get them going enough to keep them to stand up. Now I'm actually short of screws, so I have some screws that are 3.5 inches and some screws that are only 3 inches. Normally I would use 3.5 inch screws around the entire thing. But because I'm short, I'm just doing the 3.5 inch screws on the outside 2 studs. Just allows it to sink in a little bit better on the outside, a little better hold. All right, last screw in the board. And now you grab your top plate, slide that up to the top, flip your bottom plate up, grab the 4 39-inch boards that you previously cut, and set them into your panel. Then just start on one end, flush them up at the outside, flush them up at the top. And I always sink these boards, or these screws, into the board a little bit, because you want to make sure that there's no screw sticking out to scratch along any surface. The other thing is, if you look right here, you want to make sure this top plate, back up a little bit buddy, don't get so close. You want to make sure this top plate doesn't stick past or actually in, because it'll keep these apart. Try to make sure that's as flush as you can get it. All right, finish these up real quick. The only thing about these is making sure they're flush on top. It's not that big of a deal any other way. So again, I've got an 8-foot top plate and an 8-foot bottom plate, 39-inch studs, which will make for a 42-inch tall dasher board. Now, the reason I did 42 inches tall was because a sheet of plywood is 4 feet or 48 inches. And this allows me to cut 6 inches off the sheet of plywood. And then that 6-inch piece will be later used as my dasher bottom. Which I'll make another video later when we install the rink. Okay, so there's your frame for your first panel. Now, Peyton, honey, you gotta move, babe. Now, what I like to do, go ahead and start with your pile like that. Grab one of your 4x8 plywood, and I'll look at it real quick to make sure one side isn't better than the other, or if there is a better side, putting that up. Generally, the stamp is the better side. So then you just grab this sheet, go ahead and slide it up on top of the panel, and now I always use a little bit longer screw than you need, but it just ensures that you don't have problems pulling down the 2x4. Now I'll grab one more tool that I use. Which is just a simple sheetrock square. And I'll grab one screw on my drill. And now all I'm deciding is which one's going to be the top. So I try to screw in this corner. Get that corner really nice. Sink that one down. And then I go, hey bud, don't move around too much, okay? Just stand still, please. Then I come down about halfway down the board. This is to keep the keep this top plate kind of flush. And then I put one on this corner. And then you go through screwing off the entire side. But you'll notice on this side here, the sheeting sticks past a little bit. So it probably sticks by over here a little bit. We'll tap it back just a smidge, just to make sure it's relatively flush. Sink that screw. Do the same thing in this corner. Sink that screw. And then I would take my sheetrock square and just simply find my screws on the top of the plate. Just give myself a small guideline. You don't really need it if you do this enough. You can usually find those boards pretty easily, but it's kind of a little cheat to find where the underlying boards are. So the last step then is to screw off the entire board. So I always put one screw on the top. I go one screw in the middle, one screw on the bottom, and I split the difference. When you're completed screwing off the entire board, then you'll measure up 6 inches from the bottom. On that side, you measure up, honey, just stay down there please. You'll measure up 6 inches from the bottom on this side. Take a snap line and snap a line. Take your skill saw and just cut it off. The 6-inch piece you'll have left will later be used for the dasher bottom. And that is it for the first part of constructing your dasher boards for an outdoor hockey rink. Thank you, and tune again next week.